right. Hey, ladies, we're happy to be back before you again to talk more strategic insights for your business flow. And today it's going to be a broader spectrum. I think it's going to gear more towards probably paying yourself and salaries, but we'll see as normal how the conversation flows because who knows? We're planning to talk about one thing and we end up talking about manicures. So,
Or polyamory.
yeah, or polyamory. That's how it works over here.
Uh-huh.
But as you guys know, I'm Kelly, your fractional CFO, and a large part of what I do is helping to discover your financial story and helping you to get beyond the numbers and beyond your basic bookkeeping and accounting team. Because as a high achieving woman business owner, you need to have the trajectory of the future of the business and not planning just for now and the next 6 months or even the next year. So that's where we, all three of us, team up to help you get beyond that push of the next 6 months or the next year and focus on the strategy and planning for the future of the business. So I think today I'll kick things off and talk a little bit about the importance of having a scaled structure on how you pay yourself as a woman business owner. I know many a times when we start our businesses, we often are paying ourselves very little or not at all. I was fortunate enough to start on a consultant basis where my first two clients were my last two employers. And so I bidded those contracts at a place where I knew I would be financially secure. And it was just me and one other contractor helping me. So I was able to have very little overhead and start out very profitable. But as my business grew, the tables did turn. And in year 3, while I did continue to pay myself, I did end that year in a negative profit margin. And it was because it was time to invest in marketing and branding and all those things because I didn't really know I was going to have a business full time. I started out consulting thinking this was just a gig that I do until I got another full-time job I loved. So with that, I had to develop a pay structure and just say, okay, Kelly, stop making your salary based upon the contract's numbers that are coming in and set yourself up like you are the true S Corp that you are, your entity type is, as an employee who gets paid a salary with a benefit scale and a pay structure that increases. So if I work somewhere else, I don't want them to pay me depending on the contract that they got coming in.
Auntie would stand right up.
I don't care. My bills don't care. My family, my social life don't care about your contract that you got coming in. We care about this salary that I've set. So let's do 80,000. Let's say, and another thing too that I'm not going to dive too deep in because we have a lot to cover. But you may have come out of corporate making $200,000 a year, thinking that you need to work that hard to make $200,000 a year to survive in your business, and quickly realize you don't. Because that was my first epiphany, is moving from a very good multiple six-figure salary to barely a six-figure salary. But really, I had a better lifestyle because of the work-life balance I had. Honestly, my spending didn't change at all, and I traveled more. And that was because I started out at a certain salary, and then I set up a structure where in 6 months, I was going to increase my pay to this, regardless of what contracts were coming in. And you know why I did that? Because it pushed me to bring the money in, right? Because I had to set myself up for success. And then ultimately in year 3, when I decided I was going to stay in this as a full-time business, I had to set a structure that was scalable for the employees, not just me as an employee. So now hiring full-time employees for the first time, because all of this time I've had part-time people, it's already in place, and it started with me. That's the biggest mistake, and I'll leave it there. That's the biggest mistake I think women business owners make, is they start with paying everyone else before and building a structure off of everyone else's pay before they pay themselves. Carla, what do you think?
Well, I think a lot of things. We don't have enough time. But as a financial planner, and I work in a lot of different spaces for clients, and one of my main focuses is working with business owners. And when it comes to building wealth, they concentrate so much on the business because that's what's paying them, right? And if their business isn't making money, then they can't pay themselves. But what they forget is, and you touched on it perfectly, Kelly, is that they need to prioritize paying themselves. And one of the issues also that I see is they are taking advice from bookkeepers, CFOs, CPAs on paying themselves certain amounts, but it doesn't even align with their personal wealth goals. And I had a meeting the other day with someone that was told that by their CPA that they should pay themselves $80,000 with no projections, no reason why. It's just you should pay yourself that because of taxes and then take the rest as distributions. I'm going to tell you right now that they can't live off of $80,000. Their wealth goals will not be funded with that. So
the rest in distributions, Carla, and it's the CPA that said it.
That burns me to death.
I was waiting for.
I'm like, what are we doing here?
I know.
You can see she was trying.
I was trying so hard. I was. Because I have so many people that come to me that are literally, I had a $1.2 million business come to me, and she was like paying herself, I won't say the number, but it was very low. It was barely six figures, and taking the rest in distributions, and then wondering why our tax bills are out the ass. And I'm like, why? And it was because of that. It was because of the CPA was advising them as such. And this is why it's important for them. And this is a different episode that we should actually write down and revisit, because we haven't talked about this in a while and at all on this platform. But you guys should follow us on social media. There's a bunch of old content that's helpful there. But this is why people need to know the difference between a CPA, a CFO, a bookkeeper, and accountant. Because just because people have even CFO or CPA by the name does not mean they are the right fit for where you are in your business advisory. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Carla.
No. Well, maybe they'll listen
to mute herself.
Maybe they'll listen to both of us. Well, and also, so on the legal side of things, I am a licensed financial advisor. I have to do what's best for clients, and I'm a fiduciary, which means that I have to act in your best interest. I am bound by law. And so when it comes to the personal side of wealth, there are a lot of regulations, and CPAs are licensed. They are able to give certain information because they are licensed and they're talking about taxes. But we're talking about tax planning. Tax planning is not tax preparation. Those are two different things. I do not prepare your taxes. But what happens is I'm looking in the financial planning software and projecting the year and the 2 years and the 5 years and the 10 years based off of current tax laws. And we're looking at if we pay ourselves this and we maybe sell a house or purchase property, what is that going to do to our tax planning? If we take distributions from a certain investment account or contribute to a certain investment account, what is that going to do? And so all these things intertwine. So just paying yourself an arbitrary number is not going to get you to reaching your ultimate wealth goals. And that is the whole point of us being entrepreneurs, so that we can build wealth, do it the way that we want to, and create that generational wealth, create that life that we desire. So stop doing this whole, I'm going to pay myself $80,000 or $50,000. We got to plan for it. There's my soapbox.
Yeah, To that point where Tracy can talk more about that piece, how it corresponds with their operations agreements, and touch on that whole reasonable compensation piece as well, because I think a lot of times that's what people miss. But many tax preparers, to your point, Carla, don't do planning, I want to point out. So just like Carla mentioned, she doesn't do preparation. Many tax preparers don't do planning, and there's nothing wrong with that. There are many CFOs, and I have honestly gone back and forth about whether or not my firm will continue to do bookkeeping, because there are many CFOs that completely have outsourced or partner with bookkeepers, and they only do strategy in their firm. I'm just still controlling, and I want to see everything that's going on. Because y'all don't be telling me everything, so that's the only reason I still do it. But I wanted to point that out because I think people again forget or not forget because they don't even know the lanes, right? They usually just go tax preparer, bookkeeper, accountant, and an attorney when they get in trouble. That's all they know. So let's talk about that piece, the attorney when they get in trouble.
And I was going to say, when you get in trouble, you come to the attorney, guess what? I'm going to be charging you that $400 an hour. So let's talk before you get there. And even with what you just said, Carla, the person that you had the meeting with, my question when I hear they start people start talking along those lines, I'm like, and what's your entity? Right? Like Kelly just talked about, she was an S Corp, right? And people won't even think about that part of it. They're just like, oh yeah, we can do this, but let's avoid some of these taxes or work around it and just take the rest in distributions because it's not income. And don't think anything about the entity structure. Did you change your operating agreement to reflect what the structure is, to reflect what distributions should look like? And people miss that, right? And this is part of it. And I think, especially when some people start getting to the 7-figure and above range, they've worked so hard. You heard Kelly say it, right? Like she's controlling. And I think all of us, by virtue of where we are, we do have that level of control, but we're controlling and we see this as our baby, right? Like we see it and it's like, oh, look, they're growing, they're doing this, they're doing that. And we don't necessarily want to step back and delegate that the way that we should. And when you start making some of these decisions and it's like, oh, well, I'll take a little less and I won't do the appropriate employee structure because I want to be able to determine, as you said, like, well, the business can pay me, $10,000 this month, but next month I'm not sure what's coming in. So I'm away, and maybe next month I can only do $2,000, but the month after, now I can do $15,000, right? And you're looking at me like, what is this, right? Like you have to, when you make the decision, and it needs to be intentional. That's one of the things, we're going to be talking about at our symposium, and you'll hear us talk about it through the process, is that once you make a decision, you have to be intentional in your planning and your structuring and making sure that your operations align with those goals and where you're looking to go. So you say, okay, I'm at this stage. Kelly talked about it. She planned, she knew in X time period, this is how much I want to pay myself. You make sure your entity aligns, that you are an S Corp. If you're going to pay yourself like an employee, you change your structure to reflect that. You also look to make sure you're not paying yourself based on the numbers of what your business is bringing in, right? You have to make sure that you're paying yourself based on what the market requires for whatever your role is, whether you're the head cook or you're the bottle washer, whatever they get paid, that's what you should be paying yourself. So that does put you in that accountability space, right? That if this month, like, shoot, I'm paying myself, $20,000 a month this month, or next month, I'm not seeing it coming in. Guess what? You have to start marketing, hustling, doing what you need to do to bring in the clientele to make sure that you can make that payment. We are very quick at cheating ourselves as the owners. We look after everybody else and don't do for us. And it's like, no, make sure your money is set and then you can, look for others. And that may mean that the employee that you want to hire can't be an employee yet, right? Like you may need to let this be a contractor, but control. Don't treat that contractor like they're the employee. Instead of them like the employee, because then we gonna have other issues. But making sure that your business flow is not just a haphazard type thing or an ad hoc thing where it's like, oh shoot, this month this is what I'm gonna do.
Right.
Be intentional in reviewing your numbers, with Kelly and Carla, but also reviewing your contractual documents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the piece that you just talked about too, of evaluating what's happening in their business, is a large part of their CFO monthly strategy sessions. Because if we see the numbers and we see, okay, we had planned on increasing your salary by 5% this year, and the owner tells me, well, I'm not quite comfortable because the revenue isn't coming in. My response is always, that's not the answer. We're not decreasing your salary or keeping the same because of that. Let's look at the
I know
area.
I had a session with y'all, which you were like,
That's an option.
So which clients are you looking at? Because
because I'm looking at, and that's the beauty of what we do different in CFO services, is I'm not just looking at your business strategy. I'm looking at you as the employee and your personal strategy too. So it's both sides. Usually CFO strategy is just business strategy, but it all blends together for me. And I can't be blind to the fact of you just telling me, okay, just because revenue was down last year, I'm going to go ahead and skip or push off my increase. No, let's start diving into your team. What are your team doing? This is a real scenario. I had one of my clients start tracking her team's billable hours and how much they're billing, because this is a trickle down. Why can't you pay yourself? What does your AR look like? How fast are your clients paying you? What's coming in? So I don't want to get too deep in the weeds of the accounting stuff, but oftentimes it's not just because the revenue isn't coming in, or even just because you don't have enough contracts. It could be the production of your team isn't there. They're spending too much time on non-billable work, and we need to ramp that up, which is similar to what this client's case was. And then, we're going to go ahead and pay. And then we'll figure out, to Tracy's point, okay, if it is, you need to market a little bit more. How do we hire this 1099 person, treat them as a 1099 person, but get the results that we need?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and one thing too that I see a lot of is we don't know our personal side numbers to be able to share with our other professionals.
Yeah.
So if we don't know the exact number that we need to pay ourselves or bring in, whether it's W-2, distributions, whatever that is on the personal side of things, then you can't tell Patrice and Kelly what the ultimate goal for your business is, because it's not intertwined with your personal side of things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's so true.
Yep. And that's one of the things I think, Kelly talks about how we do things differently. Like we're all looking at you as a whole, including your entity, because with Carla, what you just said, some people don't realize, like when they meet with me, I'm asking, what's your goal? Like overall, what is it that you want? Not just because of this one particular issue that you may be coming to me about, or this one particular contract. What does this mean for you if you get that generally, and for your business and for you as a person, because that also informs how hard am I going to go with some of the advice that we're going to give. It's not only what's your risk tolerance, it is what is your overall view and what is your ultimate, outcome of this. And so we do treat our client as a totality. And that's, I think, it's reflective in the fact that we do have this, this grouping of us, because we recognize that the danger comes from people looking at things in just boxes, right? Like they don't think of, oh, my wealth manager needs to be talking to my attorney. Why? Or my CFO only deals with the business. Like, why do you need to be talking to me about this? Just whatever number I get from, whatever dollars I get from the business, I'm gonna give it to you, my wealth manager, and you tell me what to do. But, they miss the fact that you are a cohesive person unit. And as much as I'm going to be like, yes, your entity is separate from you as an individual, there is that interaction. And it's being strategic in how they interact, not the slapdash distributions here and there, as you see the need or feel the need, or a CFO that ain't looking at anything else is telling you, I mean, a CPA that's not looking at anything else is telling you to do.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. No, definitely. So if I had to give one actionable insight to make this easy for you women business owners from this session, it would be to, if you're not already, have yourself set up on an actual pay scale with increases and everything, just like you would if you went back to corporate and they told you, I'm going to pay you $250,000. And we typically give a cost of living increase of 3% every year and a bonus on average, and your position of $5,000. I want you to think of your business that same way. If you were interviewing and you knew in the back of your mind, if they asked you about salary, what would it be? And that's my take of what I would say. I want you to do that today and build that into your financial structure. Carla, what would you give them as one takeaway?
So take that homework that Kelly just gave you and look at all your finances. Just write down, okay, these are my expenses, these are my goals, and high level, and say, okay, can I live off of this money, this salary, especially if you're a 7-figure business? So what else do I need to think about paying myself through distributions in order to reach some of these goals? So vacation, purchasing property, and write it down, because what I find is when you write it down, you start having aha moments of, I don't have this planned, or I wanted to do this, or whatever that looks like. So just start writing things down that way.
Yep. And my takeaway, even though y'all didn't ask me, I'm still telling you.
Well, I figured you would just take it away, because that's what you do.
Tracy, take it away. Now she wants instructions. Yeah. Any other time if she do whatever the hell she want to do. Now she wants. Tracy, what's your actual takeaway?
Don't ask me nothing now. So my insight with that is, once you've done that homework and you do see where you are or where you want to be, is looking at your operations. Are you operating in that manner, right? Like you're at the 7-figure, you have here's my goal with how much I want to make. Here's what I'm going to do with it personally, how I can invest, how I can tax plan. And that's great. But at this rate, you probably have your employees and your contractors, which is a mismatch, a mixed match for your workforce. How are you planning for them as well in terms of what you're doing? Because for the most part, you're going to have to start, you as the employee, and I'm not going to get into the details of that, but you're going to, whatever benefits you're providing yourself, you're going to have to start thinking about being able to provide that for your employees that you have, and also making sure you're not providing some of those things for your contractors. So once you've figured out that portion of things, let's talk about how do you operationalize that and what that looks like through your contracts, through your structure, and through your actual practical doing. And that does take a lot of just sit and thinking and then talking through it with someone that is aware of what that looks like. So that's, our takeaway. We gave you homework. It's a cohesive homework, which is kind of the thing that we're going to do. And, looking at that, it's going to use your financial storytelling to identify the opportunities and challenges that you're going to face. And people don't like looking at that, but it gives you an opportunity to implement those strategies that worked for you, as well as the right legal structure and operations that's going to protect you as you scale further, right? Like, yes, congratulations, we're here at the 7-figure. Let's go for more, right? But making sure that you are doing it in a way that aligns with your business growth, your personal wealth goals, and making sure that that is mapped out appropriately. So we're going to, we want you to connect with us on social media. connect with us to get those personalized strategies from both, from each aspect. And we all work together. So if you want to, we will let you know. And we've always said that, like, you contact any one of us, whether it's working with us and we're like, okay, now you need to go move with this person, or it's like, no, you're not ready to work with me, but go talk to Carla or go talk to Kelly. We're very open and honest about that. We're not going to waste your time just because we want the business or we want the contract. We're very interested in who you are. So reach out, follow us on social media, Google our names if you don't know the space. We're on all the platforms. You'll be able to find us. LinkedIn. We spend a good amount of time in LinkedIn, some on Facebook and Instagram as well. So thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Well.